We're good to go?
All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started and call this meeting of the Housing Authority of the County of Monterey's Board of Commissioners to order at 5:02 p.m. And we will start with Commissioner Anderson leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Stand if you're equal. Ready, begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we are gonna start with the roll call.
Chair Boomer,
Present.
Vice Chair Kathleen Bellastaros,
Present.
Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Present.
Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
Present.
Commissioner Maria Orozco,
Present.
Commissioner Yuri Anderson,
Here.
and that concludes the roll call vote. Sorry.
All right, we're gonna move on to comments from the public. If a member of the public is wishing to speak tonight, either in person or on Zoom, you have 3 minutes, and Ms. Rivero is going to be keeping tabs for us. So thank you so much. Any comments?
Yes, I do. This is John Rose speaking, if I may.
Go ahead, John.
Good afternoon, commissioners, or good evening, as the case may be. I see that the board will be considering Resolution 3103, a resolution responsive to HUD's current QAD investigation. This is not a unique investigation, as it mirrors much of what occurred in 2015 when Monterey County Civil Grand Jury investigated it, that is, with respect to the agency's governance and processes to preserve the resources for qualified residents as opposed to those who weren't qualified, concisely stated to have processes and procedures within HACM to place and preserve the financial integrity of the organization. HACM responded to the grand jury investigation with Resolution 2813, which was approved in March of 2015, but whose tenets were never affected. These two investigations by third-party authorities and the findings of the respective investigations are parallel to HACM's financial mismanagement of HACM's funds with respect to Michi, funds that are mired in HACM's self-serving interfund. Accuracy in HACM's financial reporting has always been an issue for Michi. For example, while HACM staff reports to you on page 191 of your board packet that Michi's 2021 audit has been completed, in reality, that's not true. It's not finished. It's not been finalized. A prior HACM board chair assured Michi last year that the separation MOU, in which the interfund is a critical component, would be completed last spring. However, HACM delays with silence and unprofessional financial reporting prohibited that closure. Case in point, I attended a HACM's Finance Committee meeting on February 20th where HUD's QAD investigative audit and HACM's responsive Resolution 3103 dealing with reconciliation were discussed. However, what was not discussed was any discussion relative to HACM's interfund reconciliation, where Michi is looking at a reimbursement well in excess of $2 million. Is the board membership that cavalier about Michi and Michi's funds? Or is it that the board membership is not even aware of HACM's financial exposure to Michi? I thank you for your time and have a good meeting.
Thank you for your testimony. Is there anyone else wishing to speak tonight? Okay, we are going to move on to the consent agenda. The only item is approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting held on December 18th of last year. So anybody who's interested in making a motion?
I move approval with one edit. The minutes don't note that I was in attendance and or absent. But it does show me voting, so I wasn't late. So if you just note that I arrived a little late.
Okay.
So with that edit, I would.
And I made this second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Chair Hans Butler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kathleen Delasaro.
Yes.
Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
yes,
Commissioner Maria Orozco,
I will abstain since I was absent for that meeting.
okay, and Commissioner Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
That concludes the roll call vote.
Okay, we're gonna move to item 5, which is reports and committees. And we are gonna start with the personnel committee.
Actually was present for the meeting, hanging by a string, and everything is on the agenda.
And then the finance and development committee meeting, we did meet and everything's also on the agenda. Commissioner Healy, is there anything you wanted to add?
Nothing to add. Thank you, Hans.
Okay, there was no meeting this month. Okay. All right, then we're gonna move on to item 6, which is report of the secretary.
Okay, for my report, I just want to mention the informational update about the Tenant Protection Act of 2019, AB 1482. We received correspondence from the Attorney General for California and from Washington HUD office that the HCB program is not exempt from this law, and that we must also put this in conjunction with our rent reasonableness when we're doing landlord requests for rent increases. Under this law, landlords cannot raise their rent annually more than 5% plus inflation, according to the Regional Consumer Price Index, or 10%, whichever is lower, and this is the Civil Code 1947.12. We are in compliance of that, but I did want to just bring that out and make a note of it because we received those 2 notices. And the resolution on here for the bank reconciliations, that's directly correlated to the QAD EHB audit. And the EHB program is a Section 8 program that has special financial conditions. So this was something that we had to do for that program specifically. And that's all that I had to say for my report, unless there are any questions.
Questions from commissioners on Lucas' report? I just have a question on the AB 1482. So then, this was just a clarification, basically. So will we, I mean, if it was ambiguous before, I guess, was it our policy previously to?
Yeah, we always follow whatever the state and local laws are. We was using rent reasonableness, but a lot of housing authorities didn't think it pertained, to the HCB program. That's why they sent out the specific letters letting you know that it did.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions? One question I have is just I guess the employee handbook. How are we looking on that front?
It's almost complete.
Okay,
We checked on today, so it's almost complete, with the new policy, where, changes to some of the policies. And it will have a sheet that'll say, this is what the old one said, this is what we suggesting, so it'll be easy for everybody to follow and decide, what needs to come in or out.
okay. And then just any color, I mean, this could probably be, I'll say this for the property. Question right when we refer. I'll save it for the reports. Yes, we did. Okay, so, all right, then if there are no further questions on Zamika's report, I'm gonna move on to, item 7, which is new business, and we'll move to 7A, which is resolution 3102, a resolution establishing new payment standards for the housing trust fund.
Yes, this resolution is for us to put our payment standards in place as of January 2024. It's directly related to the FMRs that HUD published last October in 2023. And the small area FMRs. We also received a waiver from HUD so that we could go up to 120% of any of those FMRs to establish our payment standards. We tried to keep our payment standards kind of in league with what we previously had, with some increases to promote deconcentration for people in higher opportunity areas.
Questions on this resolution? I was wondering if you could just speak to the deconcentration scoring and how it's factored into our CMAP rating.
It's kind of a bonus schooling, depending on how many families you get there. Right now, we don't have a lot of families in those areas. And so those were the ones that was highlighted in the light blue on the chart. We did go up above the small area FMR to try to get some landlords to participate in the programs out there. But that is something that we're shooting for. I don't know exactly what the percentage, we haven't put a goal on it like that. Because when we did talk to some of the voucher holders, they expressed concerns about transportation and things of that nature, but it is something that we actively working on.
So basically, we're losing out on the opportunity for some points because we're.
Yeah, because somehow we only have like 1 or 2
Yeah.
people that stand there.
Okay.
But it is on our CMAP radar and we are working towards that goal.
I guess opportunity for other questions from commissioners. And then I guess, are there any comments from the public on this resolution? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion on the resolution.
Oh, I think that's from, yeah, but that chat, that's not from now, is it? That's from earlier, right?
Yeah, it's from earlier.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I guess, if anyone cares to make a motion on resolution 3102.
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution 3102 and second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded, we do have a roll call.
Chair Hans Booter,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kathleen Bellastros.
Yes.
Commissioner Kevin Hildy,
Yes.
Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
Yes.
Commissioner Maria Orozco.
Yes.
Commissioner Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes the vote.
Good, and we'll move on to item 7B, which is resolution 3103, adoption of bank account reconciliation policy.
Mike, read the name.
So as a result of the QAD audit that Zulika had mentioned, which was for our specific EHP program, we're simply recognizing that the audit pointed out that that particular program didn't have reconciliations that met the criteria of the program. So this simple procedure just formally says we'll be doing these basic steps as we would do on other programs. And it's like, it's just a double check. It's just making very specific that this particular program will follow these rules. Pretty harmless.
Okay, questions or comments from commissioners?
I have a question. I don't know if Mike will be able to answer, maybe Zulika. My question is, you know how it stated that some of the staff needed training, so was this training available to the staff before?
We had so much transition in staff, the previous staff was trained and the new staff was given training. And it's not on just the bank recs in general, because the accounting and finance department is in compliance. It was specific for the EHB program, which had 4 sets of funding. And so that was something new to them. And as we were having people transition in and out, they just missed a couple of things. But the staff now has had the training and we are continuing, with their professional training.
Okay.
Other comments or questions from commissioners?
I just have a quick question. So if there's any changes to the policy or amendments, would it just be noted on the current policy that, for a change or that you're amending the policy to?
If we have to change this policy right now, the way that our commissioner bylaws and things like that are written up, we would bring it back to the board. We haven't made any what do they call it? Substantial. Yeah. So we haven't made a policy like that. So if it changes at all, we have to bring it back to the board's attention. The only thing that I like to say about this policy is I would just like to reiterate, this was one special program that was just created in 2021, 2020 by HUD. So everybody was having keeps to get out of it. So, this is not anything to, really worry about in the finance department. It was just something small that was overlooked because of transition of employees and because it was a new good program and we have fully satisfied all the criteria, since we had this audit. And we were working on it before, we just hadn't finished it.
Okay, comments from the public on this particular, item? Okay, hearing none, I would entertain a motion on this resolution.
Make a motion.
Second.
Okay, it's been properly moved and seconded. Can we please have a roll call vote?
Chair Hans Buder,
Yes.
Vice Chair Kathleen Bellostaros,
Yes.
Commissioner Kevin Healy,
Yes.
Commissioner Francine Goodwin,
yes,
Commissioner Maria Orozco.
Yes.
And Commissioner Yuri Anderson.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That concludes the vote.
Okay, moving on to item 7C, which is the schedule for the PHA annual plan submission. It's an information only item.
No, just good information only. If we have to make changes, we'll bring it back to the board, but we feel very confident that we can meet all these dates and have a plan to you with enough time to really dissect and ask questions before we have to make the submission to the HUD office.
Any comments or questions from commissioners on this one?
No.
Okay, are there any comments from the public specifically on this item? Okay, hearing none, this is not an action item per se, so we're gonna move on to item 7D, which is discussion of the formation of ad hoc committees and temporary suspension of HACM committee meetings.
For this one, we recently had a board retreat, and during that retreat, we looked at the board meetings, the way they're structured, and some of the things that the board, and I feel that we need to pay special attention to help transition the agency. Additionally, it was gonna be 4 ad hoc committees, but now there are gonna be 3. So we're gonna do the development committee, a policy committee, and a committee on board reports. The board itself will volunteer now for who's gonna be on what committee. And I think the board reporting committee, we already had 3 volunteers, so that committee meeting will be posted to the public and everything, because there's be 3 board members on there while we discuss the nature of how we want the new board reports to look. But for the policy committee and the development scoring or development evaluation process, we still need people to volunteer, so.
Yeah, so how many we're gonna have on those two?
Yeah, 2 on each one of those, so
So-
we'll have 3 ad hoc committees.
Yeah, so we're basically, I think what we've decided is that some of the process here, in terms of meetings, committee meetings, I don't think it's serving us well, and we're kind of going through the motions with these perfunctory processes, and we want to create more room for substantive discussion, analysis, and less just, so one of the things, for example, that we're gonna be doing is moving away from folks really having a detailed summary verbally of departmental reports. We're gonna be adding items on a recurring basis to the agenda that give everyone a chance to kind of step back, see the forest for the trees, and dig in on the substance of it, so we can spend more time thinking strategically rather than, going through reports that all of us honestly can read. So that's just an example. And then on the committee side, I think we found that the current committee structure isn't serving us as well as we'd like. And so we're gonna create these 3 ad hoc committees, one of which is specifically on board reporting. So we want to make sure that the board is getting the best data that we can to make informed decisions. We're excited about that. We're gonna be.
We're
looking-
taking a very proactive stance. We are a new housing authority going in a new direction. So we need to revisit some of these old practices. I'm, for one, am very excited about it. I think as directors, you should be excited about it because now when you get in here to the board meeting, you'll actually spotlight some action or something that's going on as opposed to just reading the report that you've already submitted. Because we all know in between the time you submit a report and we have a meeting, things happen that are of note. So this is really a good chance for all of us to raise our level of professionalism and look out for the community better, because we'll really be taking a deep dive into what makes the housing authority run, how we want to fulfill the mission of the housing authority.
Yeah, and we're gonna be doing some interesting things like spotlighting departments, spotlighting specific properties and kind of dig into, give everyone a better sense of how are those properties financed, what's the timeline on those properties, what's the history on those properties, and so I think it's gonna be, very helpful for us. Specifically on this point, right, which is related to the formation of, these ad hoc committees. The first one is going to be, this ad hoc committee on board reporting. We're gonna look at best practices in the industry, and we're gonna try to redesign, a lot of our board reports. And so that ad hoc committee is going to be composed of Commissioner Healy, Commissioner Anderson, and myself. We also have two others that we want to create as ad hoc committees. The first is an ad hoc committee on to create a tool to evaluate potential new developments. So, you could imagine, we haven't created it yet, but you could imagine community needs, financial implications for the housing authority, other, factors that we deem important from a policy perspective, right? Is it mixed income, et cetera? And so, for that one, we are going to talk for a second about who should be on that one. So is there anyone interested in terms of commissioners in being on that development evaluation tool ad hoc committee?
Hans, I'm definitely interested in being part of that discussion for evaluating the development deals, please.
Thank you, Commissioner Healy. Is there anyone else who's interested in?
Hi.
Ms. Maria.
Okay. We're gonna move on to one other ad hoc committee here. So there is we're gonna call it a policy ad hoc committee, and the goal of this is to make sure that we every month are evaluating policies that might be stale, outdated, need some tweaking, or perhaps have never been created in the first place. And so, commissioners, if you had been in on some of that conversation, the idea about the PBV committee, we're just going to roll that into this policy committee. I think that's going to be better. And the PBV policy would be the first policy that we just address. And so, again, is there anyone interested in serving on that ad hoc policy? Thank you for volunteering. And Commissioner Ballesteros would be interested as well. Great. Okay, well, we're going to move on to item 8, which is information items. So again, historically, this is where, directors would, kind of read through their reports. We're going to shift it up a little bit or a lot, and we're going to go forward.
Items only.
Yeah, we're gonna, if you have an action item, and maybe we can find that.
Well, I had a little meeting with them, we talked about it today, the type of things that we want to talk about. So, and I told him we'll keep the same order, but we'll ask questions accordingly. So for the human resource report, James did have something that he wanted to mention that I thought would be helpful to the board to hear. But other than that, unless you have questions, his report is as stated in the packet. James?
The only thing I want to mention is kind of highlighting the spotlight for January. Just a little short, sweet shout out. And then also for this month. Part of that is kind of December. This will allow to also kind of make sure that they're also recognized. Sure.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's great. And again, you know, if there are, if in your department, you don't have a particular action item that, you know, needs to be addressed, you can also just feel free to, you know, kind of cede that time. So we're trying to be, you know, as efficient as possible, but, are there other, on the, I guess on the finance report, are there any particular action items or
No.
any of these others?
Only one person, and it's not an action item on the report, but since this is Johnston's person, I want to give him a brief opportunity to introduce himself to the board and the rest of the staff. But
We have 30 seconds.
Oh.
Just a lot of this.
Good. Thank you. Commissioners, my name is Jonathan. A quick icebreaker. 2 truths and a lie. I'm happy to be here. I'm excited to work with you all to provide, administer, and encourage quality affordable housing and related services to residents in Monterey County. And I don't love politics. Which one is the lie? Like you, I'm mission driven. Since I've been here, kind of the first thing that I was interested in doing is introducing myself to internal and external stakeholders to build relationships because it's helping. Very difficult. Kind of an example of a successful one this weekend, doing just hanging out after we're all off and supposed to be enjoying ourselves. I had an opportunity to speak with a gentleman who is a landlord, but not on our program. And it was as part of a conversation with a VASH stakeholder that I was having in a public forum. And so we exchanged numbers and he assured me that he wants to join the program. He just was never aware of the benefits of the program. And that kind of leads to the landlord symposium that we're going to be doing in April, where we can try to actually shop ourselves and the relationship that HACM and the community have with the landlords, because they are the lifeblood of any HCB program, because without it, we would not be able to house as many people as we do. Also going forward, I am going to be aggressively pushing the training program, the HACM, Housing Opportunities, something that comes out with their acronyms. Basically, it's gonna be changing how we calculate assets, income, and whatnot. It's a major sea change. So some of the staff will be going to Houston in March to actually get trained on it. We're gonna flip that into training the rest of the staff. We're gonna have a HUD VASH boot camp in March. I plan on doing an agency-wide fair housing training, which will include 504-88, VAWA, and LEP. Just a brief aside, I did agency training for fair housing as a legal compliance officer when I worked in Houston. So it's kind of in line with what I did there. And we're going to implement a new hire training program where when people come in, they're not just thrown to the wolves. They will have a set agenda of how to be trained before they are let out into the public, so to speak. We plan on amending and updating the administrative plan with relevant policies and also making sure that the policies are actually in line with kind of what HUD is looking for when it comes to discretionary policies, not just saying something because a template that was given to us 15 years ago is there, but actually having policy kind of in line with our mission and what we actually do here. in the county of Monterey. We're excited about the Yardy Rent Cafe. We will be having them on site for a 2-day training, rollout to implementation. And also something that is kind of unique, well, not unique, but a pet project for me, and Zalika is kind of in line with it. We kind of want to modernize how we get information out to the community. When you walk into the lobby, you see the white noise of paper. No one's looking at that stuff. So we kind of want to set up where we have modern screens where we can have briefing and information that's going to be done in a way that will bring attention to the information so it can be easier to receive and retain that information. We're gonna also have our briefings online with staff involvement as the actors and the talent as kind of a morale booster. And so that's kind of the direction that we see the department going up front. I am aggressive with it, but I also wanted to thank the ladies that have been doing the work that you hired me to do prior to my coming here. And since then, we have developed a wonderful working relationship, Myra and Diana. Thank you. And I wanted to make sure that the public understood that your work was not in vain, nor was it bad. It was good work. Y'all did a real good job. Thank you.
Yeah, Jonathan, welcome. We've heard a lot of really good things in terms of, your background. It seems like a lot of diverse experience and depth of experience as well. And so we're excited to kind of bring that cross-pollination to the housing authority. And I think you're actually stepping into some pretty big shoes in terms of kind of how this department has changed over the past, what, 9 months or something like that. The number of like total leased up families has grown, net by 600 and change in just that period of time, which is I think one of our biggest success stories. And so I think keeping that momentum is really going to be, that's going to be your job. And so we're excited to have you here. Yeah. So okay. Any other departmental reports where there's
Not unless you have some questions.
okay. So question. Yeah.
Just think it's appropriate. It was
Yeah, Marie?
No. That's why I didn't say anything.
Okay, so let's open it up for commissioners. Questions on the departmental reports.
I have in the lead question. Looking at I guess maybe sticking with housing programs. I was a little confused on page 119, the packet, around the emergency housing voucher. It says we were awarded 265, reduced to 70, and our total utilization of 29%. So I wasn't sure what I was misunderstanding.
Just to stay on
We should be like.
What are we talking about?
It's like
I'm sorry.
100.
What is the,
Oh,
Hey.
no, somebody, that's an error.
It's 116 in the PDF.
Yeah, it's.
I'm sorry, 116 in the actual document.
116?
Yeah, so utilization should be like 105 or something. Yeah, that's like error.
Okay. And then looking at page 90 or 71 of the PDF is related to the property management report and the work orders specifically. Get back there in my document. So I want to make sure I'm understanding how this report is presented. So we have forwarded, so the created was just in
Page
the,
71.
and in the PDF is page 71. It's page,
Of the PDF.
it's page 68 of the document,
Oh,
sorry,
page 68, yeah.
sorry about that. 8, whatever we think to be at. So is this saying that in this past month, this is the number of work orders that were created at each of the properties? Or is this cumulative? And then what does pending mean? And I guess overall, my question is, some of these properties have really significant number of work orders that are being submitted, and I'm interested in understanding like, what is it that we're working on, and how are we ensuring that the units that we're providing to our residents are really up to the quality standard that I heard this board, talking about wanting to ensure our residents are living in. Can you help me understand?
Well, I'll give a brief overview and then Ricardo can tell you what the forwarded work order, I'm assuming that's the one from last month. But we have been having a lot of work orders. Some of it is due to training, because sometimes they'll make 3 work orders for the same issue. So that was
Staff
due-
or the residents?
the staff.
Okay.
So that was some training, plus we were putting the yard and mobile maintenance online, and so while I was putting that online, they're testing it live and testing and training, and sometimes it was duplication, so some of the numbers are higher because of that. Unfortunately, though, some of the other numbers, those are the true numbers. We have quite a few sites that need some rehab work to be done. So when you put together the rehab work, like at the red properties, there's a lot of things that need to be done. And then with the resident neglect, some of our residents are not the best housekeepers, but it's incumbent upon management to talk to them and train them and show them how to do these things. That's the type of stuff we're working on to reduce the number of work orders. But this is a little inflated because of the yardie, because it did create some duplications in there. Ricardo, the forwarded work orders, is that the work orders from the previous month?
Yes, and then on the east side, Family Red and the City West Family Red, so it's a good size community. So that's one of the issues there. Director is correct on some of those issues that we've been working with mobile app. We've been training over and over on some of those work orders. Today I dealt with a couple of workers that were talking about the same thing, different dates, because they were made, or mistakenly made in the app.
Do we have a sense of like from submission to completion, like is there an average daily return on these or initial response? Like how responsive are we able to be to residents when they're submitting these things? And then also just, what is the, if you could give soup to nuts on the types of work orders that we're seeing, are these big issues? I know Francine was talking about like a big window, and we've seen things about some pumps, or are they like smaller?
Yeah, the sump pumps are like a 44 activity. They service the sewer side and also the storm drain side.
But that wouldn't be a resident work order.
No, that's something that's ongoing, because one of the issues there is that the pumps are, we order the pumps, but they're out 6, 8, 4 weeks. So that's an ongoing right now. We have we're able to, we found a spare that we had in stock, so we're kind of looking at it weekly because of the fact that we don't have a backup until the new ones come in. So that's a sump pump there, 44 activity. A lot of the stuff that we've been getting is not huge. In between, it's been like faucets, toilet seats, stuff like that, light bulbs. So when we get a call and I receive it from the calling service, I'll look at it and then we'll follow it through to the maintenance on that property that's assigned to the property. And depending on the situation, it could be within a few hours of response to 24 hours to 48 hours, depending on the urgency. We had some weekend issues like in one of our projects that required an immediate response. And from there forward, we're responding step by step, following through by completing the work of cleaning out the line, going back and reservice it, and repairing some of the floor that got damaged. So it's an ongoing thing on some of the big issues. But the majority, like on the east side, have been routine. Not all have been urgent. The only kind that becomes urgent is some of our east side have a centralized water heater system. So if that one water heater goes out, it affects everybody. So everybody's got to call in and they'll create those. So if we got 10 calls, we got 10 workers for the same thing.
Okay.
But it's only one water heater that's damaged. And once we get, and it's not something that's in stock, so we have to get it ordered out either from Ferguson or one of the local plumbing companies that would have it. And hopefully they have it, and depending if it's a mechanical or something with an electronic damper, then that creates not only the price increases, It's kind of curious that you have the same basic water heater, but as soon as you put an $85 damper, that water heater now costs double. So we had to order it because it's required. And that damper, what it does, it controls the heat, hold it in longer, so it can create the hot water will last longer. But those are the type of jobs that work that we have.
Thank you.
No, I guess just to piggyback on that, I agree with that comment. And I think that's one of the things that we obviously address in this form reporting, as a hot committee. But when I just look at this, it doesn't provide me with enough context, right? Because really what I want to know is what's, 362 created work orders, I guess, in the month out of how many units, right? And what's that percentage? And how does that benchmark against what you might typically see, in the industry, right? Like just to have a sense of, are we high? Is it 15% of the units, right? And how's that going to trend over time? And then thinking about like, this is the analysis piece, right? Great, that's the data. And then what can we do to get that down, right? Like, are we just putting Band-Aids on stuff where it's just going to continue to be a problem? Or how can we, address those issues? And then if we don't have the money in the operating budget, what do we need to do from a capital standpoint, to get those fixed?
Yes, a lot of these properties here are aged. So they have reached their livelihood, not only fencing, plumbing. I mean, at 1062, one of our areas out there, every time when I was assigned in that area, every time there was an earthquake, I knew some piece of ABS was going to break the movement between the foundation and the bottom plate. So then those ABS already, even though it's ABS, it's plastic, but over the years, the chemicals that we use, it now thins it down, not as fast as copper or galvanized, but eventually reaches to the point that just, we've been in some situations, I myself personally, where I'm working on a line, 4-inch line, and I think I'm gonna have to cut that piece out, right? And that piece just comes off by itself.
Yeah.
So we've concentrated on a lot of the exterior, but a lot of the internal stuff, we need to start tackling, like circulating lines, ABS lines, PVC lines that we have, the copper lines, that is really coming of age. So we're putting, you're right, we are putting a lot of Band-Aids, because if we have to replace, like say at 1062, we have a circulating line, well, that we have to invade every unit to run a new Apex line. So that's the thing that we're going to need to concentrate on the next roundabout, to be able to do a complete rehab, not only cosmetic, but also internal.
Yeah.
So, maintenance defense and Ricardo, the maintenance team actually has been working really hard, and they do have a quick turnaround. A lot of the stuff too is complimentary, like the seniors, every time they want their light bulb changed, they put in a work order and ask them to come change their light bulb. Nobody really does that, but it's something that we've been doing here, so it's like, okay, we're gonna see how that work out. And then the previous development department, some of the deals they did, they really didn't do the rehab or the construction work that they should have, and they did get like discontinued items. And so a lot of that is planned to some of the work orders that we have now. So Ricardo has actually been looking at all the properties and made a list of all the capital needs for them, so that we can try to get funding to resolve these issues if we don't already have it, and put a plan in place. So they've been working on it, and we have an active plan that we are in the process of really doing, but it's just like the red properties. I find it disappointing that a RAD property has that many work orders, because the whole purpose of RAD was for you to get all this money and fix all the units and be able to not have to do all of that type of work and then create a surplus budget. But the way that the previous management did it, they really didn't take all those steps. And so that's something that we corrected now, so that we won't have these issues in the future.
One small example, if I may, when we started the work at King City Minor Center, one thing that coming from the maintenance side, we required that the contractor install faucets and items that we carry already. We have it like in haciendas and things that have been discontinued or very hard to get. They're not off the shelf real quick. But right now at King City, if one of those faucets, hopefully it doesn't do it anytime soon, but if it would go bad, guess what? We have it in stock. So the turnaround is gonna be quicker. And it's a really, the rebuilt on those Delta faucets are really, economically friendly to the project. So that's the thing that we want to definitely, give our side of the story and make it friendly, maintenance friendly and quickly to turn.
Yeah, it's great to hear that there's a, sort of capital needs assessment on these properties that the, I do think that in this ad hoc committee on board reporting on this one, this chart, I would love to see like some dates, right? Like average turnaround time. I think, I'm sure we'd have that. It would be interesting to kind of see that and turn that into an objective. So I think it would be great. Other questions and comments on reports? I had a question, I guess it's more of a comment on the page 116 of the actual document. In the programs report, we have a chart of it's got voucher utilization by program. It has a success rate on there, and I think I've mentioned this a few times. So, Jonathan, you're going to be the guy who fixes this. So I've got faith in you. So the success rate
It's not this.
Yeah, the success rate, right, is basically like what percentage of people can actually use their voucher to lease up, and how many lose their voucher because they don't have this, right? So, you can't really evaluate that like by month, which is something I've been trying to tell people.
So we can't.
But let me make this one comment before you say that. This is a tool that the previous people.
Oh, I completely agree.
And so we need to just have success rate on that first chart, like it's the overall program. I think it'll be easier to do it like that instead of trying to do the success rate on each one of those different programs.
And so I apologize for interrupting. But one of the other things that I'm working on is training my policy analysts, or my program analysts rather, to become an expert on using the 2-year tool, that HUD tool that kind of has an overarching programmatic. It allows you to see where you are, see where you were, and even predict where you're going, either aggressively depending upon your utilization needs, conservatively, or even just kind of doing a simple trend based on how you've been going. It compares the information that HUD has in its system versus what we have in VMS right now. She's actually, all day today, she has been doing training with that, and she's getting excited about it, which is a good thing because then we can speak the same language. But as far as that's concerned, you probably won't see this much more anymore. We're going to be pulling like charts and graphs from the 2-year tool to show you where we are and then where we're going.
Yeah.
We will be doing that. So this report is kind of what we threw together in a couple of days with my staff. And thanks for.
No, it's great. And I, again, a lot of these comments kind of come back to this board reporting thing. And so we found that was, a reason why we're gonna do a deep dive. So, that being, my only comment on this was like a success rate, it's gonna be some kind of look back period, right? Like what's your success rate been over the past 12 months?
But that's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
We're going to be able to say with accuracy, how many vouchers were issued and leased up within 30 days? How many were issued and leased up within 60 days, 90 days? And then how many just fell off?
Yeah.
So the overall success rate is about the ones that fell off, but we can kind of see which way we're going towards the success rate.
Yeah, great. Oh, that's awesome. Other questions on the board reports? I had a couple others where they're less substantive and more in that same vein. What's on this report? What can we change about the reports? I'm gonna hold those because I think they're better handled in committee. Last call for questions on any of the departmental reports. Okay, well, we are going to move to commissioner comments. Commissioner Anderson.
I just wanted to thank you, Chair, and Executive Director Boykin for a really well-planned and executed board retreat this past weekend. It was 12 hours well spent. And it sounds like I'm being sarcastic, but I mean, I have sat through many of the board retreat and not felt like we walked out with having had as many substantive conversations and plans and thoughts about what the board was looking for to be able to do our jobs well. And I will say to the team here, was really heartened by the conversation with my colleagues. I think that everyone is really committed to the mission of this organization and to ensuring that the people who are searching for housing, the people that we do house, get access and they're living in quality places. And I'm really excited to be able to be a part of this organization at this time of transition.
So, Commissioner Roscoe.
Thank you. First of all, I'd like to welcome you to the organization. And I also want to echo your comments regarding the session we had over the weekend. I love the format. Actually, I'm gonna be using some of that format for some of the other boards that I serve on, but it really was very helpful to just to have the conversation and really dig into some of the issues that we're facing. Jonathan, I represent District 3, which is basically South County, Chular, King City, Gonzales, Greenfield, Soledad. So that's the area that I represent. And every time I hear a story of a family who's really struggling and who's on the verge of homelessness, it really touches you. You can't help but not be touched by the needs of our family. So I'm really happy to be able to serve on the housing authority. I previously worked for the city of Salinas and had some extensive housing background experience. So this is very exciting for me to be part of this group. So again, welcome. And thank you for the reports. I really enjoy reading the reports and actually will start visiting some of the sites. And I will just pop in, especially during the activities. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Goodwin.
I wanted to thank Talita for an inspiring weekend. I think that helped us get more focused than we already were, and I wanted to thank everybody for their reports that they contributed. Thank you.
Commissioner Healy.
I don't know that I could add any more flavor that would enhance the meeting any more so than my colleagues already have, but I would reiterate welcome to Jonathan. And I also thought that the retreat was one of the most productive strategic planning sessions that we've had as an agency in my going on 12-year tenure. So congratulations to all, and thank you to Hans and Zulika. And I'm looking forward to a renewed next chapter for our agency.
Thank you. And Commissioner Ballesteros.
I am so sorry that I missed that retreat. I probably wouldn't done anybody any good being beat up by COVID and the flu at the same time. It was very hard to try to think straight, even to drive. It was really hard. But I do want to say probably thank you to all the other commissioners that partook into that retreat. Probably a lot of wisdom went into that with Zelita, and then also welcome Jonathan. Nice to meet you in person. And I do want to say a comment. Thank you to all the staff for all your reports. I did go over them last night until I couldn't keep my eyes open anymore, but I wanted to make sure I reviewed everything, that all the reports that you provided. I do want to say about when we went to that dinner, that event with Chispa. And I just want to say thank you, Salika, and thank you, Gabriela, for giving us an opportunity to be there to represent this agency. How can I say this? Seeing all the Chispa staff there and everything that they do, the work that they do. I come from ag. My parents both worked in agriculture before when they were married, they worked in ag, and to see all the housing that they provide to those that work hard in the fields, put vegetables on our table. And I was just amazed. So I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be a part of that. Me and Ms. Orozco and Commissioner Goodwin were able to be there. And we had a great time. They didn't make us feel left out. And, we got to meet some faces. And then there was one gal that I knew that was there. She's a board of trustee on the Heart Now board. And I actually, she works at the district that I left. And she was surprised that I was there. And she even took a picture and put it on Facebook. So that way she wanted to, show that I participated in the community. So thank you to Irma Lopez, and she was the one that took the picture. So thank you to all the staff. Appreciate you.
Thank you. Again, I don't know that I have much to add. Really the same themes, Jonathan, welcome. Super excited about having you on board. I was super impressed by your background and where we're going here. And then to the board retreat, I've been doing this for now 4 years and hadn't had a board retreat. And I think it was sorely needed and came away really energized and excited about, this group of commissioners and Zulika and her staff. And I think we're already starting to see a lot of change and a lot of good things. In particular, we set some goals, some strategic goals. And, there's a saying by old Roman sailors that, if you don't know where you're going, no wind will take you there. And I think we've been in that situation for the past few years. And so it's nice to have a heading. So, okay. And with that, we're going to adjourn the meeting at 5:59 p.m. And we're going to move to the HDC meeting for this year.
We're bringing this meeting to order at 6 p.m. Whoops, just 1 second. I turned the wrong page. I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Okay, we've already done the Pledge of Allegiance. So, can we have roll call, please?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Francine Goodwin.
Present.
Vice Chair Yuri Anderson.
Here.
Director Kathleen Bellisaro.
Present.
Director Hans Buder.
Present.
Director Maria Orozco.
Present.
Director Kevin Healy. Okay, thank you.
Just 1 second. For some reason, okay, 1 second. I'm sorry. I thought I said I would print my. Okay. I'm sorry. 1 second. Okay. Okay, we did. Okay. We don't need to do report from the committees, right? For HDC?
No, ma'am, you need to answer for comments from the public.
Okay, I'm sorry. Okay, all right, do we have any comments from the public?
No.
Okay. Hearing none, okay, board, I see, we have a, a report from Zalika, I believe.
I think your pages probably got mixed up a little bit, Ms. Francine. You just need to do the consent agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm not, for some reason, I'm not seeing my, okay, anyway, can we, do, approve the agenda?
I move to approve the agenda for January 22nd, 2024. Oh, I'm sorry, it's the approval of the minutes, I'm sorry.
I second, approving the consent agenda.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm still recuperating from the weekend. Okay,
The consent agenda, they approved it and properly seconded, Ms. Francine. You just need to call for the roll call vote.
okay, can we, get it, roll call approval?
Yes, ma'am. Chair Francine Goodwin,
Yes,
Vice Chair Yuri Anderson,
Yes.
Director Kathleen Bellastros,
Yes.
Director Hans Buller,
Yes.
Director Maria Rosi, and Director Kevin Hill.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes the roll call vote.
I,
Chair, if you're having problems finding the agenda, would you like me to run through?
I have it on my phone. Okay, wait. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, there's a lot of papers. We are on item 5, information reports. We have 2 information reports, A, property management, and B, development report. Are there any additional comments from staff on either of those reports? Any questions or comments from commissioners on those reports? No. Questions or comments from the public? All right, we'll deem the reports received. We're on item number 6, director comments. Is there any director that would like to make an additional comment related to the HDC agenda? No. All right, seeing none, we are on item 7, which is adjournment. And we will adjourn this meeting of the Housing Development Corporation Board of Directors at 6:04 p.m.
Thank you. I apologize.
No worries.
I thought because I usually print everything. I thought I printed it. I apologize. Thank you, everybody.